what we're doing here is doing a test to see how many colours we can get out of these 3 colours that we've chosen for a painting. Here are some examples of what I've done before of these same sort of colours. But so how we do it is we're going to use 3 colours. This is for a peony painting. I'm actually going to use 2 yellows, raw sienna and transparent yellow. So I'm going to create a little puddle of them mixed. So here's my 2 yellows here. I'm using a flat brush. It's a sable flat brush for this, because I quite like doing these squares like little blocks of colour. So mix up some there of the yellow. I'm going to do a little puddle of red here. This is quinacridone red in Winsor Newton, or quinacridone coral PR209 in Daniel Smith. So I'm just, for convenience sake, using a clean brush for each one. And then here's our blue. It's Indanthrene blue, really powerful colour. One of the most powerful colours on the palette. So at the top of the page, I'm going to put a swipe of the yellow mix there, and this is my yellow line. And the next one, I'm going to do a little swipe across the top of the quinacridone red there, which I probably should have done them in the first boxes, but I haven't, but you can. And then this is the blue, quinacridone blue. So those are the colours that we're going to be mixing to see what we end up with. So we'll start with yellow, and what we're going to do is, this is our yellow line, and we're going to start by adding a little bit of red, a little bit more red, a little bit more red, a little bit more red. And then when we're heading towards the red, and I'm just calling it red just for convenience here, so it's the second colour if you like, so it doesn't matter what colour it is. Then when we get to about here, we're heading towards red because the red has overpowered the yellow in the mix, and then we'll add some of the third colour and get the more neutral, subtle colours. So here, so how I'm going to do that is, I've got a puddle of yellow there, and I'm just going to introduce a little tiny bit of red to a part of that puddle. You don't have to mix the whole puddle up. So it's gone from being a straight yellow to a yellow with a little bit of red. Then I'm going to add a little bit more red in. And it's a good idea to keep in mind the colours you want to achieve in your painting. So here's my reference image. I can't see any of these colours in their straight form in there, but this is what you get when you mix these colours. Then here comes more red, and we've got a lovely bright orange, and then in comes some more red. So now we're almost heading towards the colour of red there. And you can dilute them down a little bit too. I'll just use a clean brush, and I'll just pull that colour out to the side so you can see it in a diluted form, because this is a soft flower and you don't necessarily have to have all of that depth of colour. And sometimes it's hard to imagine it in a pale colour unless you give yourself a little bit of a swatch of it. I'll just top up that one there, let it drift out there. So we can see those paler versions. I set my sheet up like this so that there's space to put other colours if we want to. So here we've got to here, and we've got this lovely orangey colour here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a tiny bit of the third colour. So that's a really powerful colour. So I'm just going to use a little brush and pick up a little bit, move it over here, and I'm just going to drop a little bit in. And that's just going to give us a lovely subtle softening of that colour. So you see it's dulled it down, it's made it slightly browner. Then I'm going to add a little bit more. And I'm going to do the same thing and let those bleed out to the side, because these are important colours. And so I'm just wetting out to the side there. These are important colours in this painting that we're doing. So it's a good idea to actually identify some of the colours that you do want to make, so that you make sure that you do mix them. I'm going to add a little bit more blue to that. We get a lovely soft brown, a little bit more blue, and a little bit more red. There's nothing wrong with adding the other colours in, and then you get a nice drift of, you get a bigger range of colour. And a little bit more blue. And mix it. A little bit more. And a little bit more. So we get these lovely grey, neutral colours, shades. And I'll just pull that, whip that out to the side there, so that it drifts out and you can see the lighter neutrals. Okay, so that's our yellow line. Then the next line is our red line. So on this one I introduced the second colour more and more and more, and then introduced the third colour down here to get the neutrals. This time I'm going to do the same, but I'm going to use this. So I go to the right, so I'm going to start introducing blue to the red. So here's my red puddle. It's pretty clean. So I'm just going to pick up a little bit of blue and mix it up, and immediately I get a more towards a cooler red from the quinacridone red. Then I'll add a little bit more, and we go. Maybe I haven't added enough, so I'll just put a little bit more in. Not enough of a change is all I'm saying. In there. And you don't have to stay inside the box. The boxes are there as a prompt, if you like, as a convenience. But we don't have to colour in and stay inside the lines. So we're going more purple, add a bit more blue. A bit more. And we get these lovely, rich purple shadow colours, like so. Okay, so I'm really heading towards the blue now. I could do one more. And then the third colour is the yellow. So I've been mixing red and adding the blue. Now I'm going to add some yellow to that mix and see what we get. So as soon as you mix yellow with a purple, it neutralises it, or orange with blue. So it's just a balance of mixing these colours together. Nice, this is adding more yellow to the blue, sorry, to the red with the blue in it. Actually, what I'll do for this last one is I'll add yellow and head it towards more of the reddy brown. So it's got all three colours in, but it's quite a different way. I've lightened up on the amount of blue that's in that one. Maybe we'll just do one more, just because there's a lot of these sorts of colours in this neutral. Maybe a little bit more yellow. I've used a raw sienna because it's such a lovely, gentle kind of colour. Okay, so for the third line, I'm going to start with my blue puddle. I'll just get rid of this. Here, my blue, and I'm going to add yellow to the blue. So I've added blue to the red, sorry, red to the yellow, then blue to the red, and now I'm going to add the yellow to the blue. So it's the next one. So I'll use transparent yellow because it's a powerful colour, and I'll use a little bit of raw sienna. So there's my yellow puddle, and that's a much weaker colour than the blue. So I'm going to start with a blue puddle out here, and I'm going to add some yellow. And I get a slightly green blue. I can't honestly see anywhere in this painting that I won't use that, but this is a colour that you can mix, and you can always use this with for another painting that's in similar colours. It's great to build up a bit of a library. So there's more yellow in with the blue. There's more yellow in with the blue. Not enough of a difference, so I'll just put more in yellow. And then more yellow with the blue. And you get a beautiful chartreusey colour. So then I'm going to add the complementary opposite, which is just happens to be the third colour. So I'm going to add a little bit of red. And I'm going to add it to the mix that I've just done there. So it dirties it down, makes it more of an olivey green. I'm going to add some more blue and some more red. See what I get. Bit of fun. And there's a brown. I'm going to add some more blue to the mix. And there's a darker colour. Maybe I'll add a little bit more blue to that. So heading towards black. So then I'm going to add some more red to that. And I get a lovely shadow colour. So what I'm going to do is do a lighter version of that. I've just added some water to my brush and put that in there. I'll just add a little bit more red to it. Then I'll add some more blue back in. So it's just kind of pushing the colours one way or another just to see what you get in terms of these lovely neutrals. And so I end up with a big puddle in my board. And then it's a good idea to use your colour isolator and just check that you've got these colours. Yes, that colour's there. Where's that colour? That's probably a strong version of that up here. This is more brighter colours up here. And yeah, so that's how you get the colour mix. And you've got such a huge range of colours there. Some of the colours on this are more pale and lilac-y. So I do have some quinacridone pink or permanent rose in this palette, and it's just for this job, for those light colours. I can add the tiniest bit of blue to it, and we get a cleaner purpley pink for the parts of the flower that are exposed to the light, and they're a cooler colour. So we've got those colours to play with too, which is a shift towards the blue from the red. So there we go. There's a huge range of colours that we can use for painting this flower. If you look at the centre, it's this bright yellow here, bright yellow there, this tan here, these oranges here, merging into these brighter colours. So yeah, it just shows you what you can do with just 3 colours.